Hello, I'm Dr. Baxter Bell for Chipper. In this segment, I'm going to share with you a quick fix for achy wrists. This is not exactly a yoga posture, but the awareness that you're going to bring to the things I'm going to have you doing is going to have that yogic quality, which is really about paying attention to what's happening inside in terms of feeling and sensation, as well as being mindful of the breath and one's overall alignment. So I think when you bring those qualities into whatever you're doing, you're actually doing practices that are really in the realm of yoga. So I'm going to show you two different wrist releases that can help if you are at the keyboard a lot, or driving a car, or using machinery or tools that might bring a lot of achiness into your wrists. In addition, if you're a strong yoga practitioner, a lot of our modern poses involve the hands on the floor, and so that can actually bring a little bit of achiness into the wrists as well. So I often use these little activities for the wrists in between some of my poses where I'm putting a lot of pressure onto my hands, even within my yoga practice. So keep it in mind for that as well. So the first one is a simple one in which we take an arm out in front of us. In this case, I'll take my right arm in front of me. I'm going to drop my right hand down, and then I'm going to reach around in front of my knuckles with the other hand. My thumb is going to go against the inner wrist. And then I'm just going to relax the shoulders, firm the elbow, and then I'm going to very carefully draw down with my left fingers on my right hand to get a little stretch across the top of the wrist and the forearm. As I do that, initially I might only be able to tolerate a couple of breaths if it's a really strong stretch and there's some intensity to it. As time goes on, you might work your way up from maybe 6 or 8 breaths all the way to a minute, minute and a half, maybe even 2 minutes. So you can hold it longer and longer over time as you get better and better at this. After you've done it for 6 or 8 breaths though the first time, you'll want to release and take the hand in the opposite direction. And then you can take your left hand and bring it to your right fingers. Shoulders are relaxed, elbow is firm, and then you're going to draw back on those 4 fingers. I usually let my thumb be free here. You can sometimes hook the thumb and also get that. It's a little tricky though, so I'd be careful with that. I usually let the thumb hang free unless that's the specific area around my wrist where I'm feeling the discomfort. So again, about 6 or 8 breaths, and then eventually releasing the tension. And you have to be mindful about the amount of tension that you bring into it. You want to feel some stretch, but you're not creating pain when you do that. And then when you're done, it's always reasonable just to shake the hands out a little bit. Let me show that to you from the side so you can get another view of that. So I'm going to turn to my side. I'm going to take my other arm out in front of me and drop the hand down. I'm then going to reach out and take my other hand and bring it around the knuckles. My thumb is right on the inner wrist. The shoulders relax down. And I'm going to very mindfully and carefully draw the top hand back against the bottom hand until I get a good stretch across the top of the wrist and the forearm. I'm going to hang out there for 6 to 8 breaths initially. If it's easier, I can go longer. And you can work your way up to a minute and a half, 2 minutes. When you get into those longer holds, then you start to actually get some more permanent stretch to some of those structures that might be very tight in your body. And then as you're ready, you're going to release that for a moment. You're going to take the hand in the opposite direction. You're going to reach up and take your other hand across the fingers, shoulders relaxed, elbow firm, and you're going to mindfully draw back against the hand. Here I'm going to get more of a stretch across the front of the wrist and the bottom of the forearm. I'm going to hang out for 6 breaths, 8 breaths initially. When I think I've completed that series of breaths, I'm going to slowly release the tension, give the hands a little shake before moving on to variation number 2. So let me show you variation number 2 from the front, and then I'll do that again on the side so you can see it from 2 different angles. So for this variation, you're going to reach your arms forward and turn your thumbs down. I'm going to take this arm across and interlace the fingers. So the right hand on top of the left, I'm going to drop the shoulders down, and I'm going to press the knuckles forward. And then from here, I'm just going to hang out for a moment. So I find that I get a really nice stretch across the wrist and the forearm on just one side. To come into the deeper variation, there are several stages. Stage 1 is you bend your elbows out to the side. Stage 2 is you swing your hands down and then up in front of the chest and then up towards the sky. Once you're here, still holding on with the fingers, you're just going to drop your forearms forward a little bit. I only have to go like an inch or 2 to get some really good wringing out stretch around my wrists. For some people who are very flexible in the elbows, they may be able to drop their arms all the way down in front of their body. I'll release my hands to show you what I mean. They might be able to go all the way down here, but with the fingers still interlaced. For those of you that can do that, I recommend you bend your elbows a little bit and then holding onto the hands, drop your wrists down, your wrists and hands down, and that will give you a little bit of the stretch. But just to come back in real quickly, interlace, bend, swing up and through, and then come forward a little bit. And then I've got a good stretch on the one wrist. I'm just going to hang out for a couple more breaths here. So there are a couple different variations on this one that you can do depending on your flexibility in different joints. And then to come out, I unwind and I release, and I often give my arms a little shake. Let me show you how that looks from the side. So I'm going to do my second side, so the palms go down. I'm going to cross the other hand over, interlace the fingers, and release the shoulders. As I press forward through the arms, again, I get a really nice stretch in one of the forearms, so I might hang out here for 6 or 8 breaths before moving on to part 2. So some of you will get some really good stretch right away. Don't have to wait for the full twist to get in there. And then when it's time to go further, the elbows bend to the sides, the hands drop down towards the chest and then up towards the sky. And then once you're here, you may not have to go very far forward with the arms before you feel some real ringing, twisting stretch in the wrist joints. So I'm getting some good stuff right here. So I'm just going to hang out at this spot. Those of you that can straighten your elbows easily, I recommend you rebend the elbows a little bit and then just drop the wrists forward in this sort of an action and then hold that there for a few breaths. When you're ready, you're going to release down, through, and out, and you're going to shake out the forearms and hands. So today, I've shared with you 2 ways to help with those achy wrists. The first involved these 2 actions with both arms. The second involved the clasp of the hands and the release of the arms forward. Start off gradually, work your way up in terms of the amount of time that you spend in those things, and then notice how that's affecting the wrists over time. You might want to complete your practice by clicking on the Relaxing Breath tab now. Thank you.